Hello, everyone. So my name is Saša Djordjević. I come from Telekom Serbia, and I will be talking to you about reconciliation of the services and Brownfield from day one. So before I started as a network engineer, I worked at sales, I worked as a field engineer, I worked, this doesn't help, I can't see you either with this. As a field engineer, network engineer, developer, I'm deeply involved in all the stuff regarding making decisions of creating business workflows, creating services workflows, implementing those that they actually work, right? And why I'm telling you this is not to point out my CV, but to tell you that since you're a mixed fruit audience, I believe that from any aspect that this story is interesting for you, you can ask me, and I believe I can give you a fair and honest answer. So, who we are, Telekom Serbia, these are some stuff that maybe you can relate to and see how big or small we are regarding to you guys. Same thing in numbers, we have 13 million users, we operate in 12 countries, sorry. And these are some of the technologies, but I will emphasize the ones that are really important for this story. So, of course, Cisco NSO, Python, Django framework, REST APIs, and these are the services that are important for the reconciliation, of course. So, broadband internet access, L2 VPN, L3 VPN, MPLS IP telephony, managed CE services, mobile network services, everything from managed IT services that are using IP MPLS as transport layer, SD-WAN service. And what is also important, that we are multi-vendor environment. So we have Huawei, Juniper, Cisco, Nokia. The first three vendors are the on focus for the reconciliation story. Where we are using these? Well, everywhere. We are using it as internet gateways, we are using route reflectors, PE routers, NP routers, infrastructure switches, CE equipment as router switches. Okay, and we have around roughly 350 infrastructure routers. Now, before the automation. Well, basically, we didn't have anything, right? In 2018, we had pure CLI, no Ansible, no scripts, just OSS. In that OSS, we had partial inventory, partial resources, forms that were used by sales guys, by operators regarding service requests. A lot of those service requests went with mails directly, and we had static workflows that were really hard to change. You know, it took a lot of time, effort, and so on. So, how did we reason when we had the first NSO pilot project and we in love with it, right? How can you? So we said, okay, we don't want to be an island anymore. We want to connect. We want to connect to anyone. We don't want to rewrite data, copy data, whatever. And we said, okay, but we don't know what the future holds. I mean, a lot of stuff changes, especially in our business. So we said, if we take these 3 steps and put it in front of our eyes all the way, well, we're hoping we will not make big mistakes, at least not the one that we cannot change and correct. So adaptability, I mean, everyone knows why I said that. Independence, well, if you're in multi-vendor environment, you have to be independent. I mean, it's a must. And maybe the most important thing is the last one, because when you break apart business workflows from technical configuration, managing services workflows, then you have a variety of possibilities that you can use in your service creation, manipulation, and of course, reconciliation story. How are you going to do it? Well, you have to do it yourself. I mean, there's no easy way for this one. We took this approach. There are a lot of features that are out there that do some things great or the best in the world, but you don't have one application that is doing everything with this, right? So we created something, this is our homegrown application. We called it NSO Manager, really intuitive, right? And first of all, we wanted to be an OSS gateway because we wanted to make a gateway between OSS and the NSO, right? Then we said, okay, but we need to have a really good agile workflow that we can change in a second if we want to. So we created that as well. Now we have operators that need in some way to look that, maybe do something, trigger some workflows, sorry. So we needed a web server so that they can connect to and see all this. And of course, we needed the mail notifications. Why? Well, we don't want them 24/7 logged in and watching stuff, but only to be here when they're needed, right? So, but also the very important thing is, if you want to be really independent and do this correctly, you need to have a resource manager. Without that, you always rely on something, and that's not the complete picture, right? So, since the NSO is using Python, we were familiar with that. We said, okay, we will try to use Python as well. So we use Django framework. It has a web server. It has a lot of plug-and-play features that you can use right away. We used MySQL database. Why? Well, it suits our purposes. It still is. And the only thing that I'm going to say about this slide also is that whatever you are doing with Python, you have to consider taking well-established libraries that have good community support. Otherwise, you'll see something that you like, and afterwards you may have a problem because you have to change it, it's not supported in next version, and so on, and so on, and so on. Now let's talk about reconciliation. Enough about our company, okay? We reconciled a lot of stuff. The first thing was when we didn't know anything, we said to Cisco guys, okay, we want to create automatic service for the internet. Can you help us? Of course we can. Give us your configuration examples. Configuration what? Examples where? We don't have them, they're not in one place. Do you remember when you configured this and that and so on? So this was the first casualty. The next thing that we needed to think of is a single source of truth. I mean, we had some data that were important for us in the OSS, but that wasn't everything, at least not for the configuration part. So as painful it was, we said, okay, our single source of truth is our network. So we go from there. Maybe it's not the nicest approach, but is the safest one that we won't forget something. Now, of course, on the OSS, we had some data that we are not using for configuration, like customer name or geographical location or whatever. So it would be nice to put those data together, right? And use it, and on a plate, it looks really nice, right? We also had another thing. In Serbia, we are very hospitable people. We want to please our customers, our user experience to be as higher as possible. So we created a poetic license. We have 50 shades of gray for this type of service. We have all sorts of flavors for that. Yeah, it's jaw-dropping, but when you try to automate that, try to unify that. Yeah, it's bitter, right? So then we try to think this way. If we are going to discover service with our reconciliation package, can we change it along the way? Can we do unification in the same step as a reconciliation? And we sat and thought, and we were so bold that we decided only to change the description of the interface. Now, why? Well, because if you have 50 flavors, it's not only to discover them, you have to sort them, to recognize them, so you can unify them. And it takes really a lot of time to do that. But the second best thing that you can do is you can say, okay, I have, this is my list of commands that I want to configure for my service on the greenfield, for the new service that I want to create. So I'll say everything that doesn't look like this, but it looks like a candidate for the interface, I will point out. And we will do that in reconciliation package. I'll show you how. Before I show you that, what was the next thing? Since NSO Manager wasn't ready when we started this, it was a parallel project, so we had to play hide and seek and see where of which data will be, whether it will be on the NSO, we create some separate packages and stuff like that, whether we will try to widen our OSS, maybe we will wait and put it in the NSO Manager. And that is a very important decision to make it before you start to do anything, because it is important for your data. Your data will be needed for the resources. You will need it for workflows to know exactly what will call what in what moment. So this is a very big decision. The next thing that we needed to do, since we have this kind of topology where we have several infrastructure switches connected to one peer router, but we don't know exactly in what order, where, and so on. We needed to create a package that will discover this. And why? Well, to use it for reconciliation and, of course, for creation of new services. Besides, we reconciled this very successfully. All that I am going to tell you is that SNMP version 3 cannot help you in every situation. There are a lot of stuff on the internet regarding this subject. You can check it if you want. The way we did it, we used MAC address table, ARP table, parsed it, discovered it, and created topology. Now, back to the reconciliation. When I say we'll take the data that we want for the new service, it's an excellent thing that in your reconciliation package, you have more fields than you will have in your actual service. Why? Because you can take flags and say whatever look like a future service, but it's not by the model and needs to be unified, you can raise a flag for that and put that in a field. So we had the flag. Let's say we have a customer that has static routing, and then they moved to BGP, but no one deleted the static route configuration. If you check and find out, you'll have a flag for dual routing. So it will be a candidate, it will be discovered, you don't have to rediscover it again, it will be saved in the NSO database. You can unify it and then reconcile it. Well, since we did this reconciliation process again and again and again and all over again, and we were working in Brownfield, as I said, while the guys were unifying things and discovering it, some other guys with the same mindset, they created 50 Shades of Grey all over again. So this was a really exhausting path. But when we finally finished it, we sat and asked ourselves, okay, so did we achieve anything really? Is it better than it was? And we said, well, of course, we have structured data, right? We can now easily share that data with the rest of the world, OSS or whatever other system needs it. Of course, we automated the services, so we have the point there as well, right? And we managed to create a resilient workflow that will be separated for the business workflow. So we achieved that. But the most important thing that we were aware of was, if we ever gonna automate another service, we will never, ever do it this way again. Second chance, L3 VPN. So we sat down and said, okay, we know our mistakes. We will use our existing tools. We use new technologies that we have, right? And the first thing was collecting data again. So we said, okay, but now we have all our devices onboarded on the NSO. We have a data structure on the device level. Let's use XPath. We'll find the unique configurations. We'll group them for the L3 VPN service, and we'll count them and say, okay, let's see how many parameters of this we have or that or whatever. And then we will make a choice what will go to the service. So creating XPath analysis was super fast. It was really a game-changing. Grouping data, it took a while, but it was great in the same manner. But then came the trap. We analyzed and analyzed, okay, shall we put this parameter service or not? Will we do it like this or like that? And then someone asked, who will unify these configurations? No one wanted to do it again. So we said, okay, we will not change anything. We discovered parameters, we'll take them all. We will count, and the ones that are most preferable or most used, we'll use as default values, and the other ones we'll put as an optional to be changed. And then our appetite exponentially grew. Why? Well, we said, why wouldn't we reconcile everything that looks like L3 VPN service for that customer? What does that mean? Well, this is the list of services. All of the red ones are basically L3 VPN configurations. So, I mean, you cannot resist this, right? So, the only explanation I will do for the SD1, just not to be confused, the platform that we are using is able to use MPLS as an underlay service. So basically, that is L3 VPN configuration that we can automate, and it also can connect classical, I don't want to say legacy, L3 VPN configuration with the SD1 configuration. So that is also L3 VPN. That is the part we automated with this. Okay. Now, we have more than 300 parameters, right? But we don't know the L3 VPN service topology. Like we didn't know for the infrastructure, we don't know it for the service. I mean, we know that we are creating hub and spoke, full mesh, but are they really configured in that manner? We have extranet connecting two different L3 VPNs together. That is, I don't know how to call that topology, right? It can be all sorts of stuff. So we needed to discover that as well. Okay, non-unified configs, yeah, we're not going to unify anything. That was checked real easy. Shall we update OSS? No. Since we have separate workflows, we'll try not to change anything. It has enough data to do a business workflow. If we need to give it 2 or 3 parameters more, fine, but we won't update it with 300 parameters. Now, what does it mean in practice when you don't want to unify anything? Well, that means this. On the IP MPLS level, you have a VRF name, right? It can be Saša VRF on this router, Saša VRF2 on the other router. It's the same service, but different names. If you don't want to change it, you have a problem. If you don't want to change it, it needs to stay in the NSO in the model the same value, right? Because you don't want to unify anything. On the other hand, on the OSS side, you have a VPN name, logic 1 VPN for one customer, or at least that should be. But if you have 2 customers joined, merged, do they reside in the OSS with 1 VPN name, with 2? You don't know that. So what we needed to do, we needed to create a global VRF name that will connect with the OSS VPN name on one side, or at least all of its values, and we needed to connect it with all VRF names for that same service on the network side. Easy, right? Well, first of all, we needed to decide what type of model for the service we are going to choose, because that affects how you're going to reconcile and find that, discover it. So we decided that we are not going to do a model like we have one VRF name and the list of interfaces and routers and as one service, because we feared that we'll have a lot of unnecessary transactions, because in that way you create service once and you modify it until you're satisfied how it looks. So we decided to take approach one service instance on the NSO, one interface configuration. The next thing was L3VPN topology. Well, the only thing that is in database that could be used for this discovery is root target, right? So we said, okay, we're good to go. And then we collected data, we analyzed, and then we said, this is too much. Let's try to use AI instead. So before I move to AI, you like numbers? No, it's not a mistake. I just want to explain something before I move to numbers. The difference between automated service instance and discovered service instance. If you have automated service instance, that means that you discovered it, reconciled it, it is in your NSO database, and it is fully automated. The only thing that and that is something that you want to achieve, right? The only thing that you want to do for this, I mean you need to do, so you have as big percentage of automation as you can, you need to unify configurations. On the other hand, if you have something, if you need to collect data fast for your resource manager or for some whatever sort of analysis that you need, then you can discover data. You can collect all the infos for the L3VPN parameters for the service. You can save them either in NSO, but not as a service, just to save them, or if you have application like we do on NSO Manager, then you can analyze it. What is the big important thing considering this? Because if you're not creating transaction in NSO database, if you are just reading, the speed of collecting data is enormous. And you can do it all over again every day, multiple times, 10 times a day, and it won't affect your devices or either your performance for the process that you already have. What is also important, if you create package like that, I mean, you will create the reconciliation package or on some way. You need to, right? At the end of the story, you need to create it on the NSO server and reconcile that and have REST counts and everything else. That's the final goal. But when you're working in Brownfield, like we are, you have to consider that while you're discovering something, what is the minimal thing that you want to discover when you're talking about L3VPN service? Because it's a global service. It's not only in one place. You can, whether you'll go router by router, or you will go VRF per VRF, or you will go line card or whatever. What is the smallest chunk you will go? And then you have all the other guys that are changing some other parts of the configurations that are directly connected to your job, right? So how to avoid that? How not to put the pressure to them that they have to inform you or change or update data while you reconcile everything. Well, you do it like this. You create a job, a cron job or whatever, that will discover and do the compare on its own, and you don't have to think about ref counters or anything like this. When your process, especially if you have flavors of L3VPN like I showed you, you have probably different departments configuring them. They're maybe not all prepared to do automation at the same moment. So you'll have this percentage of automatic creation right away. Some guys will be ready in 2 years. You don't know that. So now let's go to numbers. We are looking at the internet. After the first 6 months, we discovered 65%. We unified them, and they were all 100% automated. For the next 6 months, 82%, and so on and so on. For the L3VPN, we discovered not in 6 months, but immediately, all 100% of the configurations. They were all discovered. But because of what I said, only 50% of them were able to be automated right away. The rest needed to wait. Now, about speed. internet and reconciliation speed, I have no idea how to measure that. Why? We unified something, reconciled. During that, in the next 6 months, guys created some new services manually. The other ones, we have automatic new services. So after that, we unified some more, and so on and so on. So I have no idea. All that I can tell you, it was a really long time. How many operators? 5 of them. Working in pairs for a long time. How much time to unify configs? Almost like infinity. For the L3 VPN, we reconciled in 5 hours everything. How many operators? 1 operator. What he needed to do? To push the start button, and after 5 hours, when he got the email, he needed to log in and check were there any errors, was everything okay. And if he wasn't satisfied, he could do it right all over again. On Monday, 5 afternoon, Sunday, whatever time he wanted, because he wasn't affecting anything. How many unified configurations? 0. Now, AR or I. So, we collected data, we prepared it, we grouped it, and we said, okay, since this is a topology, the first thing that popped to our mind was, this is a graph. We have nodes, we have connections, let's go with that. With graph theory, you can easily find out all the configurations that are configured by the book, right? So that is our teaching learning model. What about the fog and everything else that went? Well, we used descriptive statistics to find out what is the possibility of a node to be hub or a spoke. We went with that, and we draw a lot of diagrams for all these topologies because it's easier, you know. If you want to see something, you see the diagram, you see potential problems. Now, we did that, and with the one that were configured by the book, we trained the model. We trained it, and then we let it to the world to play. And you won't believe, we, after first 3 tunings, we made out something about 90% correctness. Now, the next thing was, what shall we do with it? Shall we tweak it more? Try to go to 95, 99, and put it in a process, or we'll just use it as a tool for a decision in some semi-manual, semi-automatic way. Well, we decided for the second one, because we did this recently, so we want to, you know, we want to observe it a bit more, and then to able to see when we will go to the phase 1, right, and do it that we don't have to watch over it. Now, before we move to questions and answers, I want to tell you a few other things. I took out these 2 services because we reconciled them, in a totally 2 different ways. Now I will tell you what else we reconciled using all of this that you saw. We reconciled topology, infrastructure. We reconciled, discovered managed C devices. We reconciled their managed C topology. We took and reconciled infra data for them so that we can have automatic interface allocation for the new services. We also did, besides the reconciliation packages that are configured in classical way, we also created light reconciliation packages, that's at least how we call them, for the discovery process, that are not creating anything in database, but collecting data. Okay, that's all for me. I hope you enjoyed it.
Okay, so you're not off the hook yet. So do you want to put the Slido up here for any questions? So let's see if we can get some questions while we're got a few minutes. Okay, so I have a few myself, but let's look at this. For the simplifying radio deployments breakout session, why did you prefer a NED emulator? What is this? Is this a different?
I think that this is not for
that's
us.
not. That's a. Someone's playing.
But we didn't.
Yeah. So I have a question. So as you said, the Serbians, you're trying to make everybody happy, and you don't want to take features away, to reconcile to just a basic CAN service. So what we learned about yesterday was the new feature. Let me get the right name. Policy-based service protection, where certain commands can be out of band, not part of the service. So I'm wondering if that could have helped you at all, meaning maybe you could have standardized on a couple services that were 80, 90% of your customers, and then use this feature for like the outlier commands that you just want to you don't want to take away from a customer, but maybe future customers wouldn't have the benefit of using those. Is that something that you guys considered or would consider?
Well, yes, of course. When I saw yesterday a presentation, I said, why we didn't have that, I don't know, when we started this. You probably, because it will help a lot, especially what you said. And the things that you saw on the slides, I believe that you recognize some things that now exists, are available and so on. But when we started, if I would start all over again now, we probably wouldn't do it this way. Some things we would keep, some things we would do totally differently.
Yeah, good. Well, and before we get to this question, so I guess, later today we have an NSO, roadmap feature discussion. They obviously want to hear from the audience. So is there any features that you think we should begin to develop that would help you in 2 years?
Well, this won't be a very creative answer, but I'm listening through a conference something they called single reload package or something, but I would really like that.
Okay. So come back later and let's beat up the product manager for that.
Okay.
So let's get back to the audience questions from Kevin. So do you rely on MAC address table and ARP only for the topology, or do you also mix it with LDP, CDP, neighbor discovery?
No. Okay. First of all, this wasn't discovery of topology of complete network. So for this project, we didn't need to see what are the connections between peer routers. So we only used the MAC address table because all the switches that I mentioned were connected either to one or two peer routers. So we used just MAC address table and ARP tables.
Okay. And they're all Cisco switches, right?
No Cisco, Huawei.
You can't do CDP, but LLDP.
That's
and from Jan, which AI tools did you use for your analysis?
Well, we used TensorFlow, and we used their built-in models. Okay, we created layers for that, but basically that was for AI and for statistical. You have all sorts of Python libraries that can do statistics for that. So that was the two things that we used the most.
Okay, great. So any other questions? We got 2 minutes here. Anyone have anything from the audience? I don't know if we have a microphone, but if there's anyone who wants to just ask something live. Any raise hands? No? Okay. Well, Saša, thank you so much. And
thank you.
We appreciate the...
Thank you, guys.